And I already said he don't want it.
I know.
Yeah, and see, he ain't trying to deal with that. And Channing Frye said it the other day too. Like, it's unfortunate, but like, I don't know. Why do you want to be the face of a league when all the people that that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis on everybody?
Hey, what is up, you guys? And welcome back to my channel here, Just Simply Sports with me. I am Kadra, and if you are new to my channel, I welcome you. Please hit the like and subscribe button. If you're not new, you've been here. As I always say, I appreciate you. Now, you just saw that clip from LeBron James talking about the state of the NBA and why he understands why Ant-Man does not want to be the face of the NBA. Well, Stephen A. Smith is never one to mince words, and this was his response. And I have a lot to say because I have to say, unpopular opinion, I agree with Stephen A. Smith.
I'm going to call it, like I said, this is some straight BS. I'm not saying everything that he said was BS because I understand there's an enormous amount of pressure that gets elevated, fellas, when it comes to being the face of the league. I understand that, but I don't appreciate what he said. I really, really don't. And listen, let's understand what the backdrop of all of this is. This is fresh off of All-Star Weekend, an All-Star Weekend that LeBron James elected to show up for and not participate in. Don't get me started with his 22 years in the league and how he ruined the slam dunk contest because he's the star. He's the first superstar that played above the rim that decided not to participate in the slam dunk contest. Don't get me started with him showing up at All-Star Weekend on a Sunday afternoon, notifying the NBA an hour beforehand that he wasn't going to play, so they didn't have time to sit up there and get a replacement for him, and then he showed up out there with street clothes on. Don't get me started with all of that. I'd like to remind LeBron James, first of all, there's a whole bunch of people that cover the league. They're former players.
All right, so you guys just heard a little bit of what Stephen A. Smith has to say because he can be quite loquacious at times. I did not want to keep you guys here for 2 hours listening to his very, very heartfelt and wordy response. But Stephen A., although he has been covering the league for over, 2 decades, he is not a former NBA player. So I'm going to play the clip in the response of Gilbert Arenas, who was on First Take this past week. Shout out to Gil, looking very astute in his suit, sitting there being politically correct. Because if you see him on Gil's Arena, it's a whole different vibe, right? You get Agent Zero more so on that side. But look at this clip of him talking about the state of the NBA and about how the media covers the NBA on his own podcast, Gil's Arena.
So for me, KD got a lot of flack for burner accounts.
Now we see why he has one.
But that's my point. Man just wanted to talk basketball without people being like, oh, it's KD. Look what KD said. He just wanted to have conversations with people. We kind of clowned him initially for that. But when you take a step back and look at him, and this is a dude who literally loves the game. He's been very vocal with tweets recently about all the criticism the game has gotten.
He grew up in an era, same era we grew up in, that when they showed you an NBA player, they showed you his greatness, right? They showed you what he meant to the game, what he brought to the game. We grew up in an era where they only highlighted your excellence. He is playing in an era where it's all personal hate. No factual anything.
All right, so I saw a lot of you guys in the comments saying that Stephen A. Smith proved LeBron's point by talking about the NBA and what he had to say, and as opposed to leading the show with that incredible night that Steph had, the 12 threes, they started with LeBron James and what he had to say. He is LeBron James. It does not matter what anybody else does in this league unless Luka gets traded again. Because he's LeBron James, he is always going to lead a show because he is that freaking big. That's the first thing. Whenever he speaks, people want to listen. Whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, that's all a matter of perspective. You want to hear what he has to say. Face of the NBA, next face of the league, these different things. That has been a very controversial topic ever since Ant-Man said that he did not want to be the face of the NBA. And it's been trending anyway, just in terms of because, Steph's getting older, KD's getting older, LeBron is older, and who's going to take over when they leave. But the reason I say I'm more inclined to agree with Stephen A. Smith is because Stephen A. Smith says a lot about basketball, but it seems like I feel like the kind of world we live in, we tend to more focus on the negativity first. And if you guys are really honest about it, think about it, right? Stephen A. Smith has been talking about SGA and how otherworldly and special he is for a few years now. Last year, he kept saying over and over and over that SGA should be league MVP. I think he's one of the few analysts I saw on TV talking about SGA. This year, SGA obviously is leading the polls. And again, Stephen A. Smith has been talking just how special and how rare and how talented SGA is. That's a positive thing. How I could go on and on about how Tim Legler, another analyst, former player, talks about the Mavericks and about how special he feels the Mavericks are, about how they always talk about how talented Luka is. I mean, how special, the Boston Celtics are. Stephen A. Smith has been outspoken ever since the Olympics about how disrespectful he felt it was for Steve Kerr to have him sitting on the bench, just how talented he is in terms of, being an NBA champion, does everything right. He's also been outspoken about how he feels like he agrees with Jason Tatum about how he's underappreciated, he does everything right. He leads the Boston Celtics, in points, rebounds, assists, and he's not in the conversation. But even look at how players talk about other players, right? And I feel like that's something I want to hear Gil speak about specifically, because I feel like LeBron, Gil, and some other, foreign players that now have podcasts are always harping on the Stephen A. Smiths, the Shannon Sharps, right? When they talk about or they give critique for the players. You don't players do the same thing?
Yo, while I'm on my rant, hey, Jason Tatum's trainer. Yo,
Jason Tatum?
he had an issue with me saying that Jason Tatum was soft, one of the softest Boston Celtics superstars ever.
Mr. Big Time.
Oh, shit. Since you're his trainer, make sure he gets Finals MVP this year.
Ooh.
And I heard you wrote a book talking about, like, stop the bullshit. I'm going to write part 2 if he don't get it.
All my point is this: is you gotta wait till you're 38, 39, start surpassing everybody to call yourself the greatest. It's cool.
Wait, what?
I'm just saying.
Wait, say that again?
Listen.
No, say that again.
All I'm just saying is the conversation, you be worthy inside of being great with the other names, has to be mentioned because you're surpassing them in time. You're surpassing them in how many years you're being played.
Okay, so that's just one example of how a former NBA player is talking disrespectfully about a current NBA player. It's like in one breath, you're mad and you're blaming the old media about how they talk about the current players and about how they're covering the state of the sport of basketball. But the new media, as the players call it, the Draymond Greens, things of that nature, it's like you don't call them out. As a former NBA player, I feel like, and it's just as a fan watching, right? There's like a brotherhood there, right? Because so many people play basketball. It is a beloved sport, like LeBron said, but so very few actually get to the mountaintop to be an NBA player. Whether you play for 1 year or you play in 13 plus, it is still a very, very small amount of people in the world that get to actually live out that dream. Some are just better than others, right? But for Brandon Jennings to sit there and call someone like JT soft when he is, by all accounts to me, the pinnacle of what you want to represent the NBA and continue it on when you have LeBron, Steph, KD retire. He does everything right. He leads his team in points, rebounds, and assists. He's respectful, he's articulate, he's mannerable, he plays hard. And I guess because he doesn't play with the same bravado as, let's say, Ant-Man or MJ, he's not in your face kind of guy. He blows the kiss, when he hits the three, it's like, oh no, he's soft. That's so disrespectful. Like, you hear men talk about it, like to call a man soft is like calling them something else. We're going to keep it, PG here on my channel, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And if you're going to hold the old media to the standard of, well, why does anybody want to watch the NBA when you have the people that cover it shitting on it all the time? You know what I mean? But if you're a foreign player and you're talking down on it, then where is your accountability in that as well? And I would love to have heard LeBron include that as well, because it's not all old media that's always talking down on the NBA. It's also foreign players that do the same thing. BJ has spoken about Donovan Mitchell, in a not so positive light. But what has he done? What is he doing? What is he doing? Donovan Mitchell, again, another guy who's very, very talented, does everything right. I don't believe he has any kids. You don't really see him get into legal troubles. You don't really hear about him. You see him on the court. Right now, they have the best record in the East. He's been very dominant. He's a very, very great player. You know what I mean? And again, I guess maybe because him and JT have that in common, where they're not in your face kind of personalities. They're not, you know what I mean? Like, because they're not, I guess very dominant personalities, or aggressive might be a better word. It's like they're soft. So it seems to me it's more like a personal thing. And if we're going to hold the old media like Stephen A. Smith, people always say he gets personal. What about foreign players that get personal? We can't pick and choose here. If we're going to hold the media accountable for how they speak about the NBA, then that should be all media who's covering the NBA. Whether you're a foreign player, a current player, if you have a podcast, YouTube channel like myself, whatever it may be, if you're talking about it in a negative light, you are also part of the problem that LeBron is speaking about. And as LeBron James, I wish he would have spoken out and included them in that topic as well, because it's not just Stephen A. Smith of the world. And when it comes to negativity as a whole in general, I feel like as a culture, as people, we always respond to negativity first, right? Think about KD, for example. I haven't followed him for the past 15, 16 years, right? So he may have done something or post something nice or respond to a nice comment before, but he has been caught, allegedly, right? Having a fake Twitter account, Instagram account, and he responds to negative comments, but I don't see him responding to the positive ones. Right? You ever look on Instagram and you see sometimes, celebrities will respond to a tweet they get that's disrespectful or rude, but you don't always respond too often to the positive ones. It's like we kind of always hone in on what's negative as opposed to what's positive. And I feel like as a whole in society, we do that. It's not just specific to the NBA, it's specific to how we are in general. It's like we're programmed to always hit a negative, like 10 people would leave you 10 comments, and then one person will say something crazy, and it's like, reply, what did you say? Like, who do you think you are? Whatever it is, you're going back and forth with somebody. And for me, I use KD because I feel like KD is so high up there. For me, I feel like it's beneath him to be as great as he is, to respond to losers just bored on Instagram or whatever it is, coming at him or saying crazy things. But in the same breath, LeBron is talking about how great the game is today, right? How young superstars doing their thing, and they absolutely are. I feel like compared to how the game was back in the day, I feel like the players, from my perspective, you could feel differently, are more athletic. I feel like they're more skilled than they were before. I feel like the offense, obviously we've been talking about the threes for a while now, more offense, than defense as compared to, back in the 90s and things of that nature. But if the game is so great, you're LeBron James, you got to ask yourself, why are the ratings down? Why are the fans not taking to the NBA and how great the league is and the current state that it is in, and they're not responding to it the same way? Because there's a disconnect there. If you watch the NBA All-Star game, right, you look into the crowd, there wasn't every seat that was packed. Jaylen Brown spoke about it. He was like, it was kind of empty in here. We should have it in Boston because Boston, the Celtics, their fan base is crazy. They're gonna come out and support, their home team. But that goes to speak that something's not meshing here, right? Because typically when fans love a product, it's going to be packed. NFL is constantly growing, evolving. They're going all these different countries now, and like they're having games in London, things of that nature. They always find a way to make sure that their game continues to evolve and they continue to keep making billions upon billions. Adam Silver, the commissioner, has been trying his damnedest to figure out how to get the NBA ratings back up, and I feel like there's quite a few different reasons why. All-Star game is just 1 week, and I feel like too much has been being put into it. But even before the All-Star game, I'm not sure right now which game has had the highest ratings, but I know that there was a time when the NBA, the highest rated game was the in-season game between the Bucks and OKC, that final game. Out of all the games leading up to that, that was the highest rated game. When we're talking about, when LeBron James is speaking about how, the game is so great and it's not being celebrated as such, as LeBron James and being who he is, right, and being revered in this league, everything that he's done, I feel like Stephen A. Smith said, you also should hold yourselves accountable. When I say yourselves, I mean NBA players, because for the product to be as great as it is, for the players to be as skilled as they are, to be able to do things that they could do now at a younger age, and the way the game is moving and growing, it's from a talent perspective, it's not connecting with the fan base like that, not the way it used to back in the day. So you got to ask yourself, what's happening here, right? And Stephen A. Smith talks about the dunk contest, and it's not, I'm going to say, it's not LeBron's fault, but I will say he does have a hand in it. When you are LeBron James and you are that big and you are that revered and that loved and that respected, and you say, I'm not doing a 3-point contest, I'm not participating in a dunk contest, it does set a precedent because people look up to you. And if the person that you look up to the most as a young aspiring NBA player or a current NBA player says, hey, I'm not doing that, then you feel like, well, why am I doing it? Well, LeBron James doesn't want to do it, and he's doesn't have to do it. So why do I have to participate? If I'm Anthony Edwards or I'm John Morant, why do I have to participate in a dunk contest when LeBron James himself, with all his glory, said, I'm not doing it? But two things can be true. The game can absolutely be a wonderful game that we all love, but at the same time, there's a disconnect, and the fans are not connecting with it. Otherwise, the ratings would be higher than what they are. What do you guys think about this whole topic, though? Are you Team LeBron? Are you Team Stephen A. Smith? Are you old media versus new media? Let me know in those comments. And of course, I will see you in the next video.